Sup, y'all? It's me. It's Tex. So I've decided today to do something kind of random, um, and I'm going to review something that isn't weird Asian milk. Uh, I'm a big fan of Halo. I've been a big fan of Halo for a long time since Combat Evolved, and I'm also a big fan of Halo figures, namely the Joyride figures for Combat Evolved and Halo 2, and then McFarlane kind of, and then Mattel not so much. Uh, and the newest company to throw their hat in the ring with Halo figures is Wicked Cool Toys, or Jazzwares. They appear to be using the Wicked Cool Toys name for figures. And today I've decided to review the Halo Spartan collection, Spartan Mark 5B. Now, this is a 6-inch scale-ish Halo figure, so the closest kind of analog that we have to it is going to be like the old Joyride figures for Halo 1 and 2. And those figures were great, but they were 2005 action figures. So they haven't aged greatly. And this is, in my opinion, a more modern take on that similar thing. They're also a 3 3/4 inch line called the World of Halo, I think. And those are pretty cool in their own right, but I think that these are probably targeted a little bit more at collectors, while the 3 3/4s are targeted a little bit more like at kids. So he comes, the MSRP of $20 US. I found him at my local Target. Uh, Obviously, we've got the figure, as you can see here, and then he comes with a commando rifle, a plasma pistol, 5 additional hands, and 2 in the package. So that's a pretty decent bevy of. And a game add-on. That's a pretty decent collection of figures. The rest of the wave is the new Halo Infinite Master Chief, a Spartan Mark 7, this guy, and then a Cat from Halo Reach. I've seen Cat a couple of times. MC, I am convinced, is like the Moby Dick of this wave. It just doesn't exist. And the Spartan Mark 7, hit or miss. So I picked him up for retail. And I'm going to. I've already messed around with him a little bit. I repackaged him for the sake of this video. I'm going to go ahead and take him out of the package, and we'll go over the accessories, and then, give some opinions, I guess. So, real quick, I'm just gonna pull him off screen. Cardboard at the top. Comes in a pretty uniform plastic tray. Everything is loose right now, but you can kind of see where I'm coming from. We're going to pull out both the weapons and the figure. And one hand, for the sake of argument. Now, let's pan this down just a little bit. Beautiful. We're going to start off with the accessories. First off, we have the commando rifle, which is hard to see because it's not focusing. Focus, you nerd. Anyway, it's this weird new gun that they showed off in that awesome E3 demo that we got at that Xbox showcase over the summer. It's kind of this like weird rifleized Christ Vector looking meme. And it's actually done really well. There are paint apps on this. I'm assuming it's molded in gray plastic, and then the green and the white are painted. Which works out pretty well. Let's see if I can get a close-up here. Oh, the camera doesn't want to focus. Oh, well. You'll have to take my word for it. The line work is super clean. The switches and the little details in, like, around where the control, group for the firearm would be are all there. There is no molded trigger. I should also note that this gun is made out of, like, a reasonably flexy plastic. So it does have the risk of warping if you like store it incorrectly or you jam it somehow, but it should be correctable with heat. Mine is not perfectly straight. It kind of comes in like this, and then there's like a bump on the rail. I don't know if that comes across on the camera. Very barely does it come across on the camera. And then the other accessory is going to be a plasma pistol. This is pretty much a Halo 5 plasma pistol. There we go, I got it to focus. This is pretty much a Halo 5 plasma pistol. It has some paint. I assume it's molded in gray plastic, and then the purple and the blue on the side is painted. They did miss the little control circle there on the top. I don't know if this means this is going to be the model of the plasma pistol for Halo Infinite, or if this is just going to be the one that they had access to, so they used. I guess we'll see when the game comes out eventually. And then obviously you can see here, and then same on the commando rifle, which I'll bring back on screen here in a second. There is a peg hole. We'll get to that when I go over the figure. But here is commando rifle, and as you can see, it is pristine. It is really well done. You can kind of see the detail and the mold, everything like that. Overall, for accessory for figure, it's great. The other stuff that he comes with is 5 additional plus 2 in the package hands. And I just pulled a fist hand out for the sake of it. It has a kind of barbed looking nubbin there on the end that pops into his forearm. And then you have a hand. They all also have joints. The joint is a horizontal hinge. So the movement that you'll get is not up and down movement. It's not up and down movement of your hand. It's going to be left and right movement of your hand when it's slotted in correctly. Now, obviously, it rotates. So if you want to do up and down movement with a hand, you can do this. As far as the hands that he comes with, he has 2 trigger fingers on him in the package, which will look like that, more or less. They grip the weapons fine. Then he has 2 fists, 2 like saluting hands that are kind of, a shape like this, and then 2 more relaxed open hands. So you for the price point of the figure, I don't really think I can complain about the accessories. 2 weapons, 7 hands. It's a Spartan. He doesn't need, the same amount of accessories and effect parts as like a Dragon Ball character, for example. But for $20, it's a hell of a lot nicer than what Hasbro gives us with the Black Series, and I can't really complain about that. I'm going to use a couple of analogies moving forward to kind of describe this figure. I think that there's 2 that are relevant. One would be like the SH Figure Arts / like Figma or Revoltech, which is the higher end import figure. And then the other one, which is the only other one that I'm super versed in, is Hasbro's Star Wars The Black Series, which is a similar sized figure at a similar price point and kind of a similar general market share, apart from obviously what franchise it represents. So let's get on to the figure. The figure is here, and I'm going to pan up just a little bit so that he is in frame. The figure is here, and he's quite imposing at this angle. But he is in the 6-inch scale. That means he's a little bit taller than 6 inches. Here he is next to a 90 proof. I'm sorry, that has absolutely nothing to do with it. Where's the ounces on the bottle? Is that not a thing? Okay. Here he is next to a 750 milliliter bottle of 1800 tequila. And as you can see, his head comes up to right about the top of the glass before it necks up on the bottle, which is nice. It's perfectly sized as far as I'm concerned, and it does feel a lot like a sequel to the Joyride figures, which makes me particularly happy because I really do enjoy the Joyride figures. Now, The next thing about him is going to be the articulation. How does he work? Well, it's pretty simple. He has a ball joint at his head that is going to move around pretty much anywhere that you want it to move. It is limited in the front by his chin and in the back by the sculpt of the helmet. So you really only get about that much up and about that much down. It's good enough. He's a Spartan. He's a dude in power armor. Obviously not an Olympic gymnast, so we'll go with that. Next thing, super cool for a figure at this price point. He has butterfly joints, which allow the ball arms to move laterally. This one on mine appears to be stuck a little bit, and I don't really want to force it. This one is very much working. As you can see, that arm is moving back and forth, which is pretty cool. Then he has a swivel at the upper bicep, so where the bicep here attaches to the ball shoulder, and then a horizontal hinge that is also, rotatable, so his arm will go all the way around out at, whatever angle you so choose. And that's on both sides. Then the elbow is a double jointed elbow, so one in the bicep and one in the forearm. And you don't get a lot out of the bicep one, but you get a lot out of the lower one, and you can get a pretty solid, more than 90-degree bend. Like I said, he's a dude in power armor. Doesn't really need much more than that. The wrists we already kind of covered. They rotate in their socket, and then they have that horizontal hinge. Torso, he's got a ball joint in there, and it gives you good side to side, but the front ab crunch is limited by this plastic, this white plastic here, and the back ab crunch is limited by the sculpt of like the spine thing back here, which is unfortunate, but I'd rather the sculpt be accurate than it not. Hips come forward. They do kind of do this rotatey nonsense, but they come forward about that far, and they go back about that far, which is not ideal, but it works. It's mostly because of this like butt area. They also come out about that far, and this is all being limited by the top of the sculpt of these legs, which it looks really good on in person, but it's not super functional. If like the joint could drop like a SH Figure Arts, then you could get a lot of range out of that, but it's kind of stuck static. It's okay, but it could be better. Thighs swivel at the hip. Then we get to the knees. Now, the knees are double jointed, which is cool, but they're real ugly. And I mean like real ugly. So realistically, you only want to use this top joint, as in the joint between this black area here and this white area here, because that's going to give you it's going to give you a 90-degree bend, which no human operates at more than a 90-degree bend unless they're doing some nonsense, right? So that's cool. And then this other joint works brilliantly, but my lord, is this knee ugly. I don't know how well it's showing up on camera, but the knee part is literally this big. That is the knee. It is as long as this shin area, practically. So it works, and for a $20 figure, I can't really complain, but you don't want to use that knee. It's bad. And then moving down, we have a vertical front-back hinge in the boot, and then you can get kind of an ankle rocker, although ankle rockers don't really do anything. And then you have a toe hinge. We're going to get to this in a second. So overall, as far as articulation goes for quantity, I think this guy is a home run. I think that you could pose him on a shelf any way that you want to pose a Spartan, and you're going to get a decent pose out of him. Another thing that I should note, going back to the accessories real quick, is that There are the peg holes on the weapons, but there are no pegs on him. There's no peg on the back here, and there is no peg on the thigh right here, where you would typically see weapons on the in-game models. So I have seen in other reviews that there are removable pieces that flip, so that like this piece right here, this black piece here, next to my finger, comes out, and then it rotates and goes back in the hole, and there's a peg on the other side. I cannot for the life of me get that piece out, and similarly I cannot get the piece out of the back plate to attempt that, and I really don't want to just like jam a knife or a pair of needle nose pliers into my figure and then try and pull it out. So I don't know if that's something they're working on, or if it's only on some figures, or what. But it's their asterisk. And that's kind of like a general overview. I think that if you're an informed buyer, or if you care about figures, that kind of gives you an idea of what you're getting for your $20. And as far as consistency goes, since they're all Spartans and they're all kind of derivative of the same, basic geometry, you're not going to get any ones that are going to burn you. A big comparison that I can make is Stormtroopers. Black Series Stormtroopers are super inconsistent. The First Order ones couldn't hold their guns, then they could. The Imperial ones had bad legs. It was a whole thing. This is going to be pretty much what you're going to get if you buy Cat or Master Chief or the Mark 7 or this guy, and hopefully any others going forward. So at least you're consistent. Now let's talk about the stuff that I'm not thrilled about. I would like there to be a forearm swivel. I know that with the way that these joints are designed, that's not going to happen. So they gave us the bicep, which is okay. It does make putting him in like a firing pose a little jank, just because you have to rotate the bicep so that the shoulder pad is facing up, basically, which is whatever. The paint applications are really good for the price point. However, I do have a little bit of overspray of white onto the black here on the back. Hardly noticeable, not going to matter, don't really care all that much, not as big as this next gripe. There are multiple joints on this figure that are sloppy. They are almost inexcusably sloppy, but I'm aware that this is a figure that is new to market from a new company, and this is like the first run of these figures, more or less. So, I'm willing to give it a pass for now. However, I should illustrate, this arm is just slop. Like this arm does not want to hold position most of the time unless you press it up against the body armor. In which case it'll hold a little bit better, but still not perfectly. Which is okay because this arm doesn't have that problem. So you can still hold the gun, and this one just kind of needs to be there for posing. But it's not great. It is really not great. I worry that this is going to wear out over time. This forearm joint is also a little loose, so your mileage may vary. This hip wiggles in its socket, like not this way, which is the rotation, but like this way, which is kind of hard to see, but you get the idea. And then finally, and this is the most egregious one in my opinion, these toe joints are bad. These toe hinges are like they're bad. I'm gonna bring the figure's leg down so you can see, but gravity has bent this toe hinge. Gravity has bent the toe hinge. It is not. I'm not doing that. I'm barely lifting up on the figure. It will stay if I go past what is horizontal, but at horizontal and then down, it's flaccid. It's some flaccid toes. And the other leg is not as bad, but it's not ideal. Um, it is loose. It's very loose. So this line is going to live or die by their ability to fix those QC issues. The joints need to be tighter. They don't need to be like ratcheted or anything ridiculous like that. It's going to increase cost of the figure. They just need to be better quality control. The figure does stand up even with the bad toe hinges. It looks fine. I have both of my hands, not supporting the figure off camera or anything like that. The accessories are great. They're made out of soft plastic so that they will fit in the figure's hand regardless. And yeah, I as a consumer, I want the product to be better, but the product as the product stands is great. It just needs a little bit of a quality control pass in order to be probably the best line of Halo figures that we've ever gotten. Yeah, I can't rightly complain about this figure at all, other than the quality control slop. That needs to be fixed. There is no other solution. It's got to be fixed. So, with that said, I recommend this line to anybody that likes Halo figures or action figures in general. It really kind of pushes what you can do for $20 compared to Hasbro. And I'm really happy to say that it seems like if they can get their shit straight, Halo figures are going to be back. And that's a really cool thing to say after the disasters that were McFarlane and Hasbro. I don't normally review figures. This is actually the first one I've ever reviewed, so I apologize if it's super shitty. But if you'd like to see more, I could definitely do more of these Halo figures as I review them, or as I get them. And take everything that I'm saying with a grain of salt. This could be a lemon. Your joints could be perfect. It happens. Although I assume that around holiday 2020, which is when I'm recording this, you're probably going to run into the same production run as me, and that would increase your chances of having a lemon as well. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm going to end it here. If you'd like to see more, please, like, comment, subscribe. Video nonsense. I hope you all have a great day. Peace out.